Hey there, and welcome to the Magic Snail Channel. This is where we share real life stories about people dealing with all kinds of situations. Some are funny, some are messy, and some are downright unbelievable. If you like hearing stories that feel real and keep you curious, you'll feel right at home here. So go ahead, like the video, and subscribe to the channel if you want more. We've got plenty of stories waiting for you.
It's all recorded. Proof of betrayal in full HD.
The baby monitor crackled to life at 11:47 p.m., but what I heard wasn't Riley crying. It was my wife moaning another man's name. I sat frozen in my garage apartment above Lena's house, staring at the small device that had just shattered what remained of my world. The green LED blinked innocently as sounds drifted up from Riley's bedroom, sounds that had nothing to do with our 4-year-old daughter. "Oh God, read! Harder!" My hands trembled as I reached for the volume control. Part of me wanted to turn it off, pretend I'd never heard it. The other part, the part that had survived 3 tours in the Middle East, wanted to hear everything. I'd been living above the garage for 2 months since Lena kicked me out. "We need space," she'd said, "for Riley's sake." Now I knew what kind of space she'd really needed. The sounds continued, rhythmic, deliberate. I grabbed my laptop and checked the security cameras I'd installed around the property. Standard divorced dad paranoia, I told myself. The feed from Riley's room showed an empty crib. Thank God. But the hallway camera caught movement toward the master bedroom. My bedroom. Our bedroom. I switched to the exterior camera and saw a silver BMW in the driveway. Virginia plates, RMX 4471. I memorized the number automatically, old habits from the service. "That was incredible," Lena's voice floated through the monitor. "David would never—" The transmission cut to static. I stared at the green light, my mind racing. 2 months of working things out. 2 months of her tears about our failing marriage. 2 months of me believing I was the problem. My phone buzzed. Text from Lena. "Riley's sleeping at Mom's tonight. Don't come by." I looked at the timestamp. Sent 20 minutes ago. She'd planned this. Reed Mathers. It took me exactly 47 minutes to identify him through the BMW registration and cross-reference with Lena's LinkedIn connections. Finance consultant, divorced. Worked with Lena's marketing firm on 3 major accounts over the past year. While I was trying to save our marriage, she was planning its destruction. I spent the next week upgrading my surveillance setup. My Army electronics training finally had a purpose beyond fixing Riley's toys. Micro-transmitters and picture frames, voice-activated recording devices behind electrical outlets, digital cameras smaller than shirt buttons. Lena never suspected. To her, I was just David, predictable, boring David who fixed things and paid bills and never caused drama. The recordings revealed everything. "He's so freaking clueless," Lena said during one of Reed's visits. "Living in that garage like a loyal dog." "When do we make the move?" Reed asked. "Soon. I've been documenting his mood swings. The drinking. Nina thinks he's having a breakdown. My sister-in-law, Nina. Lena's own sister was helping build a case against me." "What about the custody hearing?" Reed continued. "Judge Morrison is sympathetic to concerned mothers, especially when the father shows signs of instability. And the business? Once I have full custody, his 49% share becomes leverage. He'll sign it over rather than lose Riley completely. The business. Cross-Tech Solutions. The company I'd built from nothing after leaving the service. My life's work beyond my daughter." "Brilliant," Reed said. "Though we might need to speed things up." "Why?" "There's talk about a psychiatric evaluation. If we can trigger an episode, get him hospitalized for observation, it's game over." "How?" "Leave that to me. I know someone who specializes in chemical assistance." Chemical assistance. They were planning to intoxicate me. I sat in my garage apartment, listening to my wife and her lover plot to destroy my life, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not rage, that would come later. This was calculation, strategy. I picked up my phone and called Nina. "You're lying," Nina said, but her voice lacked conviction. We sat in a Starbucks 15 miles from the house. Nina stared at the printed transcripts I'd placed in front of her, carefully edited to hide the illegal surveillance, but damning nonetheless. "Read the dates," I said. "Cross-reference with when Lena asked you to document my concerning behavior." Nina's face went pale. "She said you were having episodes, talking to yourself. Drinking during the day. Have you ever seen me drunk during the day?" "No, but have you ever seen me talking to myself?" She showed me video on her phone. You were in the garage, pacing, gesturing. I was on a work conference call with clients in Singapore. Bluetooth headset. Nina's hands shook as she read the transcripts again. She's really going to take Riley? Unless we stop her. We? I leaned forward. You know your sister better than anyone. You know what she's capable of. Nina laughed bitterly. Lena's always been poison. Even as kids, she'd manipulate situations to get what she wanted. I just never thought. She looked up at me. What do you need? Information, verification. And when the time comes, testimony. What are you planning? Justice. The word hung between us like a promise. There's something else, Nina said. Something you should know about the inheritance. What inheritance? Lena's been telling people, friends, her lawyer, that you're expecting a large inheritance from your aunt's estate, roughly $200,000. She says that's why she needs custody, to protect Riley's interests. My Aunt Helen passed away broke. Her estate covered funeral expenses and nothing else. Nina nodded grimly. Lena's building a narrative. The unstable veteran with sudden wealth who can't be trusted with a child. Except there is no inheritance. She's banking on you not being able to prove that during a custody hearing. Delayed probate, sealed records, family disputes. Lots of reasons financial information might be unavailable. I felt the trap closing around me. Every move calculated, every lie designed to paint me as either dangerous or incompetent. Help me, I said. Nina reached across the table and squeezed my hand. What do you need me to do? Lena invited me to dinner the following Thursday. For Riley's sake, she said. We need to show her that Mommy and Daddy can be civil, I accepted graciously, playing the hopeful ex-husband trying to reconcile. The dining room looked the same as always, our wedding photos still on the mantel, Riley's artwork stuck to the refrigerator with butterfly magnets. Normal, domestic, a perfect lie. You look good, Lena said, setting down a plate of pasta. Rested. The garage apartment's quiet. Gives me time to think. About us? About a lot of things. She poured wine, a bottle I recognized from our anniversary 2 years ago. Romantic gesture or calculated choice? I've been thinking too, she said, about what we both want. What's best for Riley? And what's that? Stability? Security? A chance to heal? I took the wine glass but didn't drink immediately. Instead, I studied her face, the practiced concern, the carefully modulated voice. This was Lena in performance mode. I want that too, I said, lifting the glass toward my lips. She watched intently as I tilted it back. At the last second, I stopped. Actually, I shouldn't. I've been taking medication for the anxiety. Her face flickered. Disappointment? Frustration? Oh, what kind of medication? Lorazepam, doctor's orders after the divorce papers. It was a lie, but a believable one. Anxious divorced fathers were common enough. Maybe just a sip, she suggested. To celebrate trying again? I really shouldn't mix. David. Her voice carried an edge now. One sip won't hurt anything. I pretended to consider, then raised the glass again. This time I let the wine touch my lips, but didn't swallow. When I set the glass down, I made sure she saw me swallow reflexively. There, I said. Happy. She smiled, the first genuine expression I'd seen from her in months. We ate dinner while Riley played in the living room. Normal conversation about work, weather, Riley's preschool, but I caught Lena checking her watch repeatedly. By 9 o'clock, I was supposed to be showing symptoms, drowsiness, confusion, slurred speech. Instead, I excused myself to use the bathroom and palmed the wine glass on my way past the kitchen. Everything okay? Lena called. Fine, just tired. Think I'll head home. I kissed Riley goodnight and embraced Lena at the door. She felt tense, expectant. Sleep well, she said. I'm sure I will. Back in the garage, I sealed the wine glass in a plastic bag and called the number Nina had given me. Halloran, a retired private investigator with contacts in forensics labs. I need something tested, I told him. Discreetly. What kind of something? Wine, possibly laced. Bring it by tomorrow. Cash only. And kid, if this is what I think it is, you'd better be ready for what comes next. I was ready. I'd been ready since the moment I heard Reed's voice through that baby monitor. The lab results came back positive for Rohypnol, enough to incapacitate a grown man for hours. I stared at the report, my hands steady for the first time in weeks. Evidence, documentation, the beginning of their downfall. I found Reed in the parking lot of his office building 3 days later. He was alone, walking to his BMW, briefcase in hand. Successful, confident, unaware that his world was about to shift. Reed Mathers. He turned, startled. Do we know each other? I showed him a photograph. Lena leaving his apartment building, taken with a telephoto lens. His face went white. What do you want? To talk. About what? About my wife. About my daughter. About the psychiatric hold you're planning? Reed looked around the parking lot, calculating. We were alone except for the security cameras mounted on light poles. I don't know what you're talking about. Rohypnol in my wine glass. Documented mood swings that never happened. An inheritance that doesn't exist. Should I continue? You're crazy. That's the plan, isn't it? Make me look crazy so Lena gets custody and you both get access to my business. Reed's composure cracked. Look, whatever you think you know, I know everything. The question is what we do about it. He stepped closer, trying to intimidate me with his height advantage. You need to walk away. Find yourself another wife, another life. This one's taken. By who? You? By someone who appreciates what he has. Lena deserves better than some broken soldier living in a garage. The broken soldier comment hit exactly as intended. I felt the familiar surge of controlled violence that had kept me alive overseas. That ability to flip a switch and become something dangerous. What did you just say? Reed sensed the change in my tone. Smart man, but not smart enough. I said you're pathetic. Lena told me about the nightmares, the drinking, the way you zone out during conversations. You're damaged goods, and everyone knows it. I smiled, the kind of smile that made enemy combatants reconsider their life choices. Say that again. You heard me. His fist came at my face in a clumsy right hook. I stepped aside easily, letting his momentum carry him forward, then grabbed his wrist and twisted. Not enough to break anything, just enough to send him sprawling across the asphalt. He scrambled to his feet, face red with embarrassment and rage. You freaking psycho! I'm calling the police! Please do! I'd love to explain to them about the pills in my wine, about the recordings of you planning to have me committed, about your relationship with my wife while we're still legally married. Reed froze halfway to his phone. That's what I thought, I said. Strike one, Reed. 2 more and you're out. I walked away, leaving him standing beside his BMW with scraped palms and a shattered ego. Behind me, I heard him screaming threats, but the words didn't matter. The security cameras had captured everything. Self-defense, his attack, my restraint. Perfect. Lena filed for emergency custody 2 days later, citing my increasingly erratic and violent behavior. The petition included a sworn statement from Reed describing our parking lot encounter as an unprovoked assault. I hired Margaret Walsh, the best family law attorney in the county. Expensive, but worth it. They're moving fast, Margaret said, reviewing the papers. Emergency hearing next week. They're claiming you're a danger to the child. Based on what evidence? Reed's statement, testimony from your sister-in-law about concerning behavior, and this, she handed me a photograph. It showed me standing in my garage apartment window, apparently talking to myself and gesturing wildly. From the angle, it looked exactly like Nina had described. Unstable behavior from a man losing his grip on reality. That's from a work conference call, I said. I can provide phone records. Good. What else can you give me? I handed her the forensics report on the wine glass. Margaret's eyebrows rose. They tried to poison you? Rohypnol? Enough to incapacitate me for hours. This changes everything. If we can prove intent to incapacitate you prior to seeking custody. I have more. I gave her copies of the financial records Halloran had dug up on Reed. Irregularities in client accounts, suspicious transfers, potential embezzlement. Nothing definitive yet, but enough to raise questions. David, Margaret said carefully, how did you obtain all this information? Private investigator? All legal? It wasn't entirely true, but it wasn't entirely false either. Halloran had verified everything through legitimate channels, even if my initial source was questionable. I need you to be completely honest with me. Is there anything at all, that could damage your case? Any skeletons, any mistakes, any behavior that could be misconstrued? I thought about the surveillance equipment, the illegal recordings, the careful manipulation of events to achieve my goals. Then I thought about Riley. Nothing that matters, I said. The fake inheritance letter was Nina's idea. Lena's obsessed with your aunt's estate, she said. She keeps asking me if I've heard anything about probate, about how much money might be involved. Because there is no money. She doesn't know that. What if there was a letter from the estate attorney? Something official looking that suggested a substantial inheritance was pending? I smiled. You're devious. I learned from the best. Lena taught me how to manipulate people. Time to use her lessons against her. We crafted the letter carefully, legal letterhead from a fictional law firm in Pittsburgh, formal language about estate assets and probate delays. The key paragraph mentioned liquid assets totaling approximately $340,000, pending resolution of tax issues. I left the letter on my kitchen counter where Lena would see it during one of her surprise visits to check on me. I also made sure to mention to her that I was expecting some news about Aunt Helen's estate. 3 days later, I returned from a job interview to find my garage apartment's lock jimmied and several items moved. Nothing stolen. They'd been looking for something specific. My security cameras told the story perfectly. Lena and Reed, both dressed in dark clothing, entering through the side door at 2:17 a.m. Reed carried a small pry bar. Lena held a flashlight. They went straight for my desk, rifling through papers with practiced efficiency. When Reed found the inheritance letter, he held it up to the light while Lena photographed it with her phone. "This is it," Lena whispered, barely audible on the recording. $340,000, plus his business share. "We need to take it," Reed said. "No, if it goes missing, he'll know someone was here. Better to let him think it's safe." "What if he moves it?" "Then we come back. Or better yet," Lena smiled in the infrared camera feed, "we make sure he's not capable of managing money at all." They photographed every page, then carefully returned the letter to its original position. Reed tested the desk drawers, looking for other documents. Lena checked the bathroom medicine cabinet, looking for prescription bottles that might support their narrative of my mental instability. "Nothing here," she said. "He's hiding the real evidence somewhere else. Or there isn't any. Maybe he really is just falling apart. Don't underestimate him. David's sneaky when he wants to be." They left at 2:44 a.m. after carefully repositioning everything to hide their presence. Except they hadn't counted on infrared cameras or motion sensors. I had them on breaking and entering. Burglary, conspiracy, perfect. Judge Morrison was a stern woman in her 60s with little patience for manufactured drama. She listened to Lena's attorney present their case: the unstable veteran, the violent confrontation, the concerning behavior witnessed by family members. Then Margaret Walsh stood up. "Your Honor, we'd like to present evidence that Mrs. Cross has engaged in a systematic campaign of manipulation and fraud designed to discredit my client and gain access to assets that don't legally belong to her." Lena's attorney objected, but Judge Morrison was curious. The first exhibit was the forensics report on the spiked wine. "Mrs. Cross attempted to incapacitate Mr. Cross using Rohypnol, a date pills, during what she claimed was a reconciliation dinner." Lena's face went white. Reed shifted uncomfortably in the gallery. The second exhibit was the security footage of their break-in. On the courtroom's monitor, Lena and Reed's midnight adventure played out in perfect clarity. Their whispered conversation about my supposed inheritance echoed through the room. "Your Honor," Margaret continued, "there is no inheritance. Mr. Cross's aunt passed away with debts exceeding her assets. This document," she held up the fake letter, "was created specifically to test Mrs. Cross's intentions." Judge Morrison leaned forward. "Are you telling me this inheritance is fabricated?" "Completely. Mrs. Cross and Mr. Mathers broke into my client's residence to photograph and steal documentation of assets that don't exist." The third exhibit was Reed's financial records, the suspicious transfers, the client account irregularities, the pattern of embezzlement that Halloran had uncovered. "DA Mr. Mathers is currently under investigation by the State Licensing Board for financial misconduct. These proceedings appear to be a desperate attempt to access my client's legitimate business assets before Mr. Mathers faces criminal charges." Lena shot to her feet. "That's not true. None of this is true." "Mrs. Cross," Judge Morrison said sharply, "sit down. He's manipulating everything. David's sick. He needs help." "I said sit down." Lena looked around the courtroom wildly, seeing her carefully constructed narrative crumbling in real time. Reed was staring at the floor, probably calculating how much prison time he was facing. "This is insane!" Lena screamed. "He's been stalking me, recording me. He's dangerous." "Mrs. Cross," Judge Morrison's voice cut through the courtroom like a blade. "One more outburst, and you'll be held in contempt." Margaret presented the final piece: testimony from 3 of Reed's former clients who'd discovered financial irregularities in their accounts, all pointing to a pattern of fraud that predated his relationship with Lena. Judge Morrison called a recess. When court resumed, her decision was swift and brutal. Based on the evidence presented, I find no credible threat to the minor child from Mr. Cross. Mrs. Cross's petition for emergency custody is denied. Furthermore, I'm ordering a full psychiatric evaluation of Mrs. Cross to determine her fitness for any custody arrangement. Lena collapsed into her chair, sobbing. Additionally, I'm referring the evidence of breaking and entering to the district attorney's office for potential prosecution. Reed was already moving toward the exit, but 2 sheriff's deputies blocked his path. Apparently, Halloran had timed his evidence dump to the IRS perfectly. Reed's arrest made the local news. Finance consultant charged with embezzlement. The reporter mentioned that federal agents had seized records from his office and frozen several client accounts pending investigation. Lena called me that night, crying, "David, please. We need to talk." About what? About fixing this, about our family. We don't have a family anymore, Lena. We have a custody arrangement and a divorce proceeding. That's not true. We have Riley. We have history. We have lawyers. I made mistakes. I know that. But Reed manipulated me too. He convinced me you were dangerous, that Riley wasn't safe. Stop. David, please. I said stop. I heard the recordings, Lena. I know exactly who manipulated whom. Silence on the other end of the line. What recordings? The ones where you called me freaking clueless. Where you planned to intoxicate me and have me committed. Where you discussed stealing my business. More silence. You recorded us? I protected myself. That's illegal. Wiretapping, invasion of privacy. Sue me. I hung up. Nina called an hour later. Lena's losing it. She showed up at my apartment screaming about you, about how you've ruined everything. She tried to get me to sign some kind of statement saying you threatened her. Did you? Of course not. But David, she's not done. She's desperate now, and desperate people do stupid things. Let her. Every move she makes just digs the hole deeper. What about Riley? Riley's safe. That's all that matters. But even as I said it, I knew Nina was right. Cornered animals were the most dangerous kind. The invitation came 3 days later, handwritten on expensive stationery. David, I have something that belongs to you. Come to the garage tomorrow at 8 p.m. Come alone. L? I showed the note to Halloran. It's a trap, he said immediately. Of course it's a trap. So you're not going? Oh, I'm definitely going. Kid, that's the stupidest thing you've said yet. She's got nothing left to lose. If I don't show, she'll escalate. Maybe drag Riley into it. Better to end this on my terms, Halloran sighed. What do you need from me? Backup. Stay outside, call the police if things go sideways. Define sideways. If I'm not out in an hour, assume the worst. I arrived at the garage at exactly 8 o'clock. Lena was waiting inside, pacing between my workbench and storage shelves. She looked terrible, hollow-eyed, thin, desperate. You came, she said. You said you had something of mine. I lied. Of course she did. Then why am I here? Because we need to end this. All of it. I closed the door behind me, making sure it didn't latch completely. I'm listening. Reed's gone, probably prison. His lawyer dropped him yesterday. Good. The custody evaluation starts next week. My lawyer says I'll probably lose. Definitely. So I want to make a deal. What kind of deal? Lena stopped pacing and faced me directly. For a moment, she looked like the woman I'd married. Vulnerable, hopeful, human. I'll give you everything. Full custody, the house, my share of the business, all of it. In exchange for? Your silence. No criminal charges for the break-in, no testimony about Reed, no more evidence dumps. I pretended to consider the offer. What about Riley? Supervised visitation. I know I screwed up, but she's still my daughter. And Reed? What about him? If he contacts you, he won't. Trust me. As if summoned by our conversation, footsteps sounded on the garage's exterior stairs. Reed's voice carried through the walls. Lena, open the door. She went pale. I told him not to come, but you told him I'd be here. David, I swear. The door burst open. Reed stumbled in, wild-eyed and drunk. He clutched a tire iron in his right hand. Well, well. The happy couple, plotting my destruction. Reed, put that down, Lena said. Shut up, you lying witch. He turned to me. And you sanctimonious prick. Think you're so smart? Smarter than you, apparently. The tire iron whistled past my head as I ducked. Reed was drunk, angry, and desperate. A dangerous combination. But he was also sloppy. I grabbed a socket wrench from my workbench and faced him. Last chance, Reed. Walk away. Screw you both. If I'm going down, you're coming with me. He swung again. This time I didn't dodge. I stepped inside his swing and drove the wrench into his solar plexus. He doubled over, gasping. "Stay down," I warned, but Reed was beyond reason. He straightened up, raising the tire iron above his head for a blow. I hit him again, harder this time. He crumpled. Lena screamed, "Is he dead?" I checked Reed's pulse, strong and steady. "Unconscious. He'll live. We have to call 911. We have to call the police. There's a difference." Lena stared at Reed's motionless form, then at me. Something shifted in her expression, calculation replacing panic. "David," she said quietly, "there's something I need to tell you." "What?" "I'm pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. Pregnant? With whose child? Whose? I asked, though I already knew the answer would destroy me either way. "Yours?" she whispered. "From that night 3 months ago, when we tried to work things out. 3 months ago, before I knew about Reed, before everything fell apart. If she was telling the truth, I had another child coming, a brother or sister for Riley. If she was lying, it was the cruelest manipulation yet. You're lying, I said, but my voice lacked conviction. I can prove it. Medical records, ultrasound photos, David, this changes everything. Reed groaned and stirred on the garage floor. Outside, Halloran's voice called my name, right on schedule. Police sirens wailed in the distance as Halloran helped me drag Reed's semi-conscious form outside. Lena followed, clutching what looked like medical documents. "David, please. Look at these." The ultrasound photos looked legitimate, grainy black and white images with medical timestamps from 6 weeks ago. The patient name clearly read Lena Cross, but something was wrong with the dates. "Lena," I said slowly, "this ultrasound is dated 8 weeks ago. You said you were 3 months pregnant." Her face flickered. "I misspoke. I meant 11 weeks. 12 maybe. From our night together 3 months ago?" "Yes. That would make you 13 weeks pregnant. This ultrasound shows 8 weeks of development." Mathematics. Cold, hard, undeniable mathematics. "David, whose baby is it, Lena?" Reed chose that moment to regain consciousness fully. He sat up, holding his head, and looked around in confusion. "Lena? What the heck happened?" "Reed," I said conversationally, "congratulations. You're going to be a father?" His confusion deepened. "What? Lena's pregnant. Didn't she tell you?" Reed looked at Lena, then at me, then back at Lena. Slowly, understanding dawned on his face. "You told him it was his?" "Reed, don't. You lying cunt. You said you were on birth control." The police arrived as Reed lunged for Lena. I stepped between them, more to protect the baby than either of its parents. 2 officers separated us while a third took statements. Halloran provided the security footage from his car-mounted camera, showing Reed's assault and my defensive response. "Domestic dispute," the lead officer concluded. "Mr. Mathers, you're under arrest for assault with a deadly weapon. Mrs. Cross, we'll need a statement about the pregnancy claim and its relevance to tonight's incident." As they cuffed Reed, he turned to Lena one last time. "I hope it was worth it," he snarled, "because you're getting nothing from me. No money, no support, no nothing. You and your bastard can rot." Lena collapsed onto the garage steps, sobbing. The officers finished their paperwork and left with Reed. Halloran shook my hand and drove away. Nina arrived to collect Lena, shooting me a look of pure disgust as she helped her sister into the car. I stood alone in my driveway, staring at the ultrasound photos Lena had dropped. 8 weeks pregnant. With Reed's child, desperate enough to claim it was mine to save herself from complete destruction. I walked to my mailbox and dropped the photos inside. Tomorrow, I'd mail them to Reed's lawyer. Let him decide whether to pursue child support from a federal prison cell. Riley's custody hearing was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Lena didn't show up. Judge Morrison awarded me full custody by default, with a note in the record about Lena's continued pattern of deceptive and manipulative behavior that demonstrates unfitness for parental responsibilities. Nina brought Riley to my garage apartment that afternoon. "She's been asking for you," Nina said, setting down Riley's stuffed animal collection. "Lena's in some kind of treatment facility. Voluntary commitment." "How long?" "Minimum 30 days. Maybe longer if they find what I think they'll find." "Which is personality disorders. Maybe worse. She's been unraveling since Reed's arrest." Riley ran to me, wrapping her small arms around my legs. "Daddy, are you coming home now?" I picked her up, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. "My daughter, my responsibility, my future. We're going to find a new home, sweetheart. Just you and me." "What about Mommy?" "Mommy's sick right now." She needs to get better. Will she get better? I looked at Nina, who shrugged helplessly. I don't know, baby, but you don't need to worry about that. Daddy's here. We spent the rest of the afternoon packing Riley's belongings. Her clothes, toys, books, the remnants of a childhood interrupted by adult failures. That evening, after Riley fell asleep in my bed, I sat at my kitchen table with a glass of whiskey and the final documents from Halloran. Reed had been sentenced to 18 months in federal prison for embezzlement. His assets were frozen, his professional licenses revoked. The baby Lena carried would inherit nothing but debt and disgrace. Lena's psychiatric evaluation had revealed what Nina suspected: borderline personality disorder with narcissistic features. The doctors recommended long-term therapy and medication. Her parental rights were suspended pending completion of treatment. My business was secure, my daughter was safe. My enemies were destroyed. Justice. I opened my laptop and started typing an email to the realtor. Time to find Riley and me a proper home, somewhere far from the garage apartment and the memories it contained. As I typed, my phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. You think you've won. This isn't over. Lop. I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Some things you don't forgive. You don't reason with them or rehabilitate them or give them second chances. You just survive them better. I finished the email to the realtor, closed the laptop, and checked on Riley one more time. She slept peacefully, surrounded by her stuffed animals, safe in the knowledge that Daddy was nearby. Tomorrow, we'd start looking for our new home. Tomorrow, we'd begin the process of building a life free from manipulation, lies, and betrayal. Tonight, I sat in my garage apartment and listened to the silence. No baby monitors crackling with deception, no footsteps on the stairs from unwelcome visitors, no voices plotting my destruction. Just silence. Clean, honest silence. Reed was right about one thing. I had won. But it wasn't a victory worth celebrating. It was simply survival, hard-earned and dearly bought. I poured the whiskey down the sink, turned off the lights, and went to bed beside my daughter. In the morning, we'd pack the car and drive away from this place forever. The noise below had finally stopped.